Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to bring you a battle between these two Throne of Eldraine sealed decks and the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods. We'll be playing 2 games in normal difficulty and then in hard mode, and for each of these games we'll be using the following hero cards. We'll be using the Harvester, which says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. The Explorer, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. And the Vanquisher, which says your starting hand size is increased by 1, your maximum hand size is increased by 1. On the left we have an Izzet deck, on the right we have a Rakdos deck. We'll get started by drawing our opening hands. Izzet draws a Raging Redcap, Jousting Dummy, Unexplained Vision, Run Away Together, Mountain, Crystal Slipper, Island, and Island. I think this is an acceptable hand, even if it's a bit of a slower one. Rakdos draws a Malevolent Noble, and Malevolent Noble, a Swamp, an Inspiring Veteran, a Weaselback Redcap, a Swamp, a Witch's Cottage, and a Festive Funeral. It's not a great hand because we are missing red, but because we have enough things that we can cast, we'll keep this for the time being. Turn 1, Izzet will play an Island and a Mountain, and Rakdos will play both Swamps. Rakdos will tap the Swamps and will cast a Malevolent Noble. This is a 2/2 human noble with 2, sacrifice an artifact for another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Malevolent Noble, and Izzet will tap these 2 and will cast the Jousting Dummy. This is a 2/1 artifact Scarecrow Knight. For 3, Jousting Dummy gets +1/+0 until end of turn. We have 3 turns until the Horde attacks, so we are going to end this turn by using the Harvester. Izzet draws a Weaselback Redcap, and we will pitch the Weaselback Redcap. Rakdos draws a Castle Embereth, and we will pitch a Festive Funeral. We'll untap. Izzet draws an Island, and Rakdos draws an Epic Downfall. We will play 2 islands over here, and we will play the Castle Embereth, which is a land. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain. You can tap it for red, or pay 1 red and tap it for creatures you control to gain +1/+0 until end of turn. That enters the battlefield tapped. We'll also play the Witch's Cottage. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other swamps. When it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library, but we don't have 3 or more other swamps, so it will enter the battlefield tapped. Rakdos will spend 2 mana to cast their other Malevolent Noble. Izzet will spend 3 mana and cast the Raging Redcap. This is a 1/2 Goblin Knight with double strike. We'll go ahead and go to combat, and we'll attack with 1 Malevolent Noble and the Jousting Dummy into the Horde. The Horde will take 4 damage and will mill 4 cards. And then at the end of the turn, we will use the Harvester. Izzet draws a Island, and we will discard the Runaway Together. Rakdos draws a Raging Redcap, and we will discard the Epic Downfall. We'll untap. Izzet draws a Tome Raider. Rakdos draws a Lost Legion. Izzet will play their Island, and then we'll pay 3 mana and cast a Tome Raider. This is a 1/1 fairy with flying. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. We'll draw a card. That's a mountain. We'll play the mountain. And then Izzet will spend 2 mana and cast the Crystal Slipper. This is an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste. And then we will pay 1 more mana to stick that on the Raging Redcap. Rakdos will spend 3 mana to cast the Lost Legion. This is a 2/3 Spirit Knight, and when it enters the battlefield, scry 2. We'll scry 2. We will take the Swamp and put it on the bottom. We'll leave the Stormfist Crusader right on top. And then we'll go to combat. We will attack with the Jousting Dummy, as well as both of the Malevolent Nobles for a total of 6 damage. And then we will go to the Horde's turn. The Horde will cast the top 3 cards. The first one is a Mogus's Chosen. This is a 5/4 Minotaur. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacks each turn if able. Then we have another Mogus's Chosen. And then we have an Altar of Mogus. At the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. When it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, the Horde sacrifices 2 Minotaurs. And we are taking no attacks this turn. We will, at the end of the turn, use the Harvester. Izzet draws an Island, and we'll pitch the Island. Rakdos draws a Stormfist Crusader, and we will pitch the Weaselback Redcap. We'll untap. Izzet draws a Gingerbrute. Rakdos draws a Plains. Rakdos will play the Plains. Izzet will spend 5 mana to cast Unexplained Vision. This sorcery says draw 3 cards, and if at least 3 blue were spent to cast this spell, scry 3. We'll draw 3. That is a mountain, and a Sir Eleanor the Discerning, and we spent 3 blue, so we will scry 3 as well. We will send the island to the bottom as well as the corridor monitor. We will keep the weapon rack on top. And then we'll play a mountain. Rakdos will spend 2 mana and cast the Inspiring Veteran. This is a 2/2 human knight, and other knights you control get +1/+1. That makes the Lost Legion a bit stronger. I think we're going to have to take a big hit, but I don't know what else we can do. We need to try to maximize the damage here. So we are going to go to combat, and we will attack with the entire team for 14 damage. The first card to go into the graveyard that matters is a Plundered Statue. It says when Plundered Statue is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player draws a card. Izzet will draw a weapon rack. Rakdos will draw a Scorching Dragonfire. Then there's Vitality Salve. When it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. That is a last event. That trigger is on the stack. Before that trigger goes off, we're actually going to have some fun here. We'll use the Harvester while the trigger is on the stack, which will cause us to draw and discard. Izzet will draw an island, and we will discard the Sir Eleanor the Discerning, while Rakdos will draw a mountain, and we will discard the Raging Redcap. Then the Vitality Salve's trigger goes off, and Izzet will choose to get back Sir Eleanora the Discerning. This is a star 4 legendary human knight, and its power is equal to the number of cards in our hand. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and it spells your opponent to cast that target Sir Eleanor costs 2 more to cast. This will go on the battlefield. We'll draw a card. It is now a 5/4. Meanwhile, we'll take the Raging Redcap and return that from the battlefield into our hand. And then we will play the mountain over here. Rakdos is going to hold tight with the Scorching Dragonfire in hand, because we might need that. Izzet will tap the mountain, and we will play the Ginger Brute. This is a 1/1 artifact creature food golem with haste. You can pay 1 and it can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. Pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice it and gain 3 life. And then we will pass to the Horde, which will untap and then cast the top 3 cards. The first one is a Minotaur Younghorn. It's a 2/2 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn if able. We have another Mogis Chosen that enters the battlefield tapped. And we have a Minotaur Goreseeker. It's a 3/2 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn if able. All of these creatures are coming in on the attack. And then we will spend 2 mana over here to cast the Scorching Dragonfire, targeting the Minotaur Younghorn. This is a instant, and it says it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If the creature or planeswalker die this turn, exile it instead. The Younghorn is exiled, and the Goreseeker will die at the hands of Sir Eleanora. Will take 10 damage from the Mogis' Chosens to go down to 10. And then the Horde's turn will end, and we'll go back to our turn. We'll untap. Izzet will draw a Folio of Fancies. Rakdos will draw a Barrow Witches. Izzet will play the island and the mountain. First, we're going to cast the Folio of Fancies. It's an artifact. It says players have no maximum hand size. Pay X tap. Each player draws X cards. Pay 2 blue. Each opponent puts a number of cards equal to the number of the cards in their hand from the top of their library into their graveyard. We'll pay 6 to tap and use the Folio of Fancies so that each player draws X cards. That's 3 cards each. Izzet draws an Ogre Errant, a Dwarven Mine, and a Mountain. Rakdos will draw a Rankle Master of Pranks, a Barge Inn, and a Jousting Dummy. We're going to go to combat, and we will attack with the Sir Eleanora as a 5/4, the Raging Redcap, the Jousting Dummy, both Malevolent Nobles, the Lost Legion, the Inspiring Veteran, and the Raging Redcap, and we're going to spend 1 red mana to barge in the Raging Redcap. It's an instant. It says target attacking creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Each attacking non-human creature gains trample until end of turn. That is a total of 28 damage. We hit a Refreshing Elixir. When it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player gains 5 life. There are 2 players, so we'll gain 10 life to go back up to 20. We have another Refreshing Elixir, taking us up to 30. We hit a plundered statue, so each player will draw a card. Izzet draws a Slaying Fire, and Rakdos draws a swamp. We'll play the swamp. We hit a Massacre Totem, which causes them to put 7 more cards from their library into the graveyard. That'll be the last 2. And then we'll go to our second main phase. We just need to kill the remaining Mogus's Chosens, so we just need to survive until then. We have a buffer of 30 life, so it should be easy to turn this around. But we can kill some while we can, so we will spend... So Rakdos will spend 4 mana and play the Stormfist Crusader. This is a 2/2 human knight with menace. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. And the Jousting Dummy. And then we will pass to the Horde. The Horde will untap. And they can't cast any more spells, so they will just attack with their 3 Mogus's Chosen. We will trade the Stormfist Crusader and the Jousting Dummy for 1 of them. And we will go ahead and put the Tome Raider in front of another one to take no damage. These 2 will die, as will the Tome Raider, and then this Mogus's Chosen will die as well. We will use a Harvester at the end of the turn. Izzet draws a Mountain, and Rakdos draws a Searing Barrage. We will discard the Charm Sleep over here. We'll discard the Barrow Witches over here. Then we'll untap. Izzet draws a Scorching Dragonfire, and Rakdos draws a Mountain. I believe we have this. We'll play the Mountain over here. We'll play a Mountain over here. We'll tap 3 mana over here to cast Slaying Fire. This is an instant. It deals 3 damage to any target. However, if you spent at least 3 mana to cast this spell, it deals 4 damage instead. That'll kill 1 of the Mogus's Chosens. And then we'll spend 5 mana over here to cast Searing Barrage. This is an instant. It deals 5 damage to any creature. If at least 3 red mana are spent to cast this spell, it deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. We don't have to worry about the controller thing. This will kill the creature. And the Throne of Eldraine sealed decks will defeat the Horde on normal difficulty. We'll be right back for hard mode. We are back for hard mode. We'll go ahead and get started. We only have 2 turns until the Horde attacks. Izzet draws an island, an Embereth Shieldbreaker, an island, a Charm Sleep, a Folio of Fancies, a Redcap Raiders, an island, and a Dwarven Mine. It's not an ideal hand, but it is one that we can use, so we will go ahead and do so. Rakdos draws an Epic Downfall, a Swamp, a Barrow Witches, a Stormfist Crusader, a Swamp, a Castle Embereth, a Barrow Witches, and a Swamp. Also not an ideal hand, but we can use it, so we will do so. Izzet will begin with 2 islands. We'll tap them both and cast the Folio of Fancies. Rakdos will play the Castle Embereth. It'll enter the battlefield tapped, and we'll play a Swamp. And then at the end of turn, we'll use the Harvester. Izzet draws a Mountain, and we will discard a Charm Sleep. Rakdos will draw a Claim the Firstborn, and we'll discard the Epic Downfall. We will untap. Izzet draws an island. Rakdos draws a Lost Legion. This is our last turn before the Horde attacks. Izzet will play a Mountain and an island. And then we'll spend 3 mana to cast the Redcap Raiders. This is a 3/2 Goblin Warrior. When it attacks, you may tap an untapped non-human creature you control. If you do, Redcap Raiders get +1/+1 against trample until end of turn. Rakdos will play both Swamps. And we will spend 3 mana to cast the Lost Legion. We'll scry 2. And we will put the Mountain on top and put the Barge in on the bottom. And then we'll pass to the Horde. They will cast the top 3 spells. They cast an Unquenchable Fury. Each Minotaur can't be blocked this turn except by 2 or more creatures. They'll cast a Minotaur Younghorn and a Touch of the Horn God. Whenever a Minotaur attacks this turn, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. This will attack. It has Death Touch and can't be blocked by 2 or more creatures. We don't want to trade our 2 creatures for that, so we'll go ahead and take the 2 and go to 18. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Izzet will draw a Castle Embereth and we'll discard the island. Rakdos will draw a Mountain and we will discard the Claim the Firstborn and we'll untap. Izzet will draw a Corridor Monitor. Rakdos will draw a Swamp. Rakdos will play the Mountain and the Swamp. We will spend 2 mana to cast the Stormfist Crusader. And Izzet will play the Castle Embereth. We will tap 2 mana to use the Folio of Fancies for each player to draw a card. Izzet will draw a Ginger Brute. Rakdos will draw an Inspiring Veteran. We'll spend 2 more mana to cast the Corridor Monitor. It is a 1/4 artifact construct. When it enters the battlefield, untap target artifact or creature you control. We'll go ahead and untap the Folio of Fancies. And then we will go to combat. We will attack with the Red Cap Raiders as well as the Lost Legion. And as this attacks, we'll tap the Corridor Monitor to make it a 4/3. So we'll be dealing 6 damage total. We hit a Massacre Totem, so we're going to mill 7 more. We hit a Plundered Statue, so we'll each draw a card. Izzet draws an island. Rakdos will draw a Steel Claw Lance. Rakdos will go ahead and pay 2 mana to play the Steel Claw Lance. This is an equipment, and equip creature gets +2/+2, and equip Knight for 1, equip for 3. Go ahead and spend a mana to equip it to the Stormfist Crusader, making it a 4/4. And then we will pay 1 more mana over here. We'll cast a Ginger Brute over here. We will pass the turn to the Horde, which will untap and cast the 3 topmost cards. The first one is Altar of Mogus. We've seen this before. A Mogus is chosen that enters the battlefield tapped. And finally, a Minotaur Younghorn. These 2 will attack, and we will block one of them with the Stormfist Crusader. Killing it will take 2 to go down to 16. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Izzet will draw a Runaway Together, and we will discard an island. Rakdos will draw a mountain, and we will discard the Inspiring Veteran. We'll untap. Izzet draws an Animating Fairy, and Rakdos draws a Malevolent Noble. And the Stormfist Crusader will activate. We'll lose 2 life to go down to 14. We'll each draw a card. Izzet draws an island, and Rakdos will draw a Scorching Dragonfire. Izzet will play the island. Rakdos will play the mountain. Izzet will spend 1 red mana to cast the adventure half of Embryo's Shieldbreaker. That's Battle Display. It's a sorcery. It says destroy target artifact. We'll go ahead and destroy the Altar of Mogus. It says when Altar of Mogus is put into a graveyard from anywhere, the Horde sacrifices 2 Minotaurs. We'll sacrifice both of these. And then we will spend 2 mana to cast the Embryo's Shieldbreaker from exile. This is a 2/1 human knight. Meanwhile, we'll spend 5 mana over here to cast a Barrow Witches. This is a 3/4 human warlock, and when it enters the battlefield, return target knight card from your graveyard to your hand. We'll take the Inspiring Veteran and put it back in our hand. We'll go to combat, and we'll attack with the Stormfist Crusader, the Lost Legion, the Ginger Brute, the Red Cap Raiders, the Corridor Monitor for a total of 11 damage. We have 1 more Plundered Statue here, so we will draw a card each. Izzet draws a Ogre Errant, and Rakdos will draw a Searing Barrage. We have 2 mana up here. We could cast a Malevolent Noble, but I think we're just going to hold the Scorching Dragonfire up. We will go to the Horde's turn. They'll cast the top 3 cards. The first one is a Minotaur Younghorn. The second one is a Minotaur Younghorn. And the last one is a Minotaur Younghorn. All 3 will attack. We will block one of the Minotaur Younghorns with the Barrow Witches. We'll spend 2 mana to cast the Scorching Dragonfire, targeting another Minotaur Younghorn. And we'll trade the other Minotaur Younghorn with the Embryo's Shieldbreaker. This will kill 2 of the Minotaur Younghorns and exile another one. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Izzet will draw a Red Cap Raiders, and we will discard the Runaway Together. Rakdos will draw a Barge In, and we will discard the Inspiring Veteran. We'll untap. Stormfist Crusader will trigger. We'll lose 2 life, and then draw a card each. Draw 2 cards total. Izzet will draw a Mountain, and will draw a Jousting Dummy. Rakdos will draw a Weaselback Redcap, and will draw a Swamp. We'll play the Swamp. We'll play the Mountain. And then we will go to combat. We will attack with the entire team for 14 damage. We hit a Vitality Salve, so each player will take a creature from the graveyard and put it onto the battlefield. We'll go ahead and use the Harvester now, same trick that we did before. Izzet will draw a Unexplained Vision and discard the Red Cap Raiders. Rakdos will draw a Jousting Dummy, and we will discard the Barge In. We'll go ahead and take the Red Cap Raiders and put it on the battlefield, as well as the Inspiring Veteran. And then we'll go to our second main phase, and we will spend 4 mana to play the Ogre Errant over here. It's a 3/4 Ogre Knight, and when it attacks, another target attacking knight gains menace until end of turn. It will tap 3 mana here and cast the Bring to Life part of Animating Fairy. Sorcery, it says target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature, put 4+1/+1 counters on it, and it exiles. That happens. And then on this side, we'll spend 1 mana and cast a Weaselback Redcap. We'll spend 2 mana and cast the Jousting Dummy. We'll spend 2 more mana and cast the Malevolent Noble. And then we will pass the turn to the Horde. They'll cast the top 3 cards. They cast a Minotaur Goreseeker, a Refreshing Elixir. At the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. And they cast another Refreshing Elixir. The Minotaur Goreseeker will attack and slam right into the Folio of Fancies and die. And then we will end the turn. We'll untap. Izzet will draw an island. Rakdos will draw a plains. We'll play the plains here. We'll play the island here. I think we have this in hand, so we'll just attack with the entire team for a total of 35 damage. That's going to wipe out this deck. And the Throne of Eldraine sealed decks will win the day on hard mode, so that wasn't too bad. If I made any major errors in either rules or play, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.